In Palestine, the Rafah border was opened to allow humanitarian exit from the Gaza Strip into the Egyptian territory. The General Assembly of the United Nations holds its 24th plenary meeting addressing the needs of ending the economic, commercial, and financial blockade imposed by the United States against Cuba. In Afghanistan, the government postpones until Tuesday the deportation of undocumented migrants who remain in the country. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. For the first time since October the 7th, the Rafah border was open to allow humanitarian exit from the Gaza Strip into the Egyptian territory. Qatar has mediated an agreement between Egyptian, Palestinian, and Israeli authorities to allow ambulances to enter the Gaza Strip today to pick up seriously wounded people for treatment in the Egyptian health centers. At the same time, around 500 people holding foreign passports were allowed to leave the beside Palestinian enclave. The agreement mediated by Qatar is not linked to other issues under negotiations, such as the release of hostages for the humanitarian truce.
So far, 81 cases have been approved for transfer. We have 35 ambulances with 81 wounded. We are waiting for the authorization to enter the Palestinian ward for the subsequent passage to the Egyptian wards. We do not have further details about the organization. We call the brothers around the world and the brothers in the Arab Republic of Egypt for the prompt opening of the Rafah crossing for the entry of medical supplies and fuel needed for equipment and ambulances. There are many more wounded. There are tens of thousands of wounded in hospitals, and we are only transferring 81, which does not reach the load of a single hospital.
The recent opening of the Rafah border was prompted many foreigners locked up in Gaza to try to leave the country beside by Israeli attacks. In exclusive material produced by a collaborator, we heard the story of foreigners who has tried to cross the border 3 times.
This is the 3rd time we come to the borders. We came here before twice. Each time we waited from 9 to 5 for the borders to open. Under horrible circumstances, with no ceasefire whatsoever, with bombings around us, and then we would go home. So I'm hoping today this does not happen. Every time we came, the Jordanian authorities would call us and tell us to come to the borders. Last night they called at around 2 a.m. And they said to come to the borders because they open it at around 9. But then we lost complete connection and reception, so I really don't know if they'll open it or not. I think everyone in Gaza is barely alive. Like, we're not okay. Nothing that's happening is okay. We've been literally living a genocide that's been streaming live in front of everyone, and nothing has changed for 25 days. Today is the 26th, and I can't imagine what does the world need to see more of this genocide to demand a ceasefire or stop everything that's happening. For the past days, we've been trying to secure food, water, fuel, and everything, and nothing is available. Like, every time, like literally every day, my brother would leave our house at like 4 a.m. in the morning to secure some bread. I think it's as simple as a ceasefire, complete ceasefire, with opening the borders and let's say getting Gaza out of this blockade that's been for years, to let everyone who wants to leave and needs to leave Gaza to go out of it, especially the injuries that we have. I don't even know the number of injuries that we're getting. I stopped counting at 12,000 plus injuries. So I'm just hoping for the borders to open, a ceasefire, and to stop this genocide that's happening.
Israel carries out a new bombing, this time in the city of Khan Yunis, where several areas were totally destroyed, leaving also a large number of people wounded and dead behind.
We are here in the city of Khan Yunis, in an area that suffered great destruction, an entire residential quadrant destroyed by Israeli warplanes. You can also see a large number of houses that have been targeted by Israeli warplanes that fired their missiles, causing the fall of a large number of dead and wounded.
They bombed our neighbor's house and our next door house collapsed, as if it were an earthquake. The damage is huge, with just one bombardment. A great disaster. Look, 6 buildings, that is almost the whole area. And that building over there was also damaged, and there were deaths.
How would you describe what happened?
For God's sake, this is genocide. We don't know why. It's a war we have never seen or heard of.
Targeting residential neighborhoods is an Israeli policy that Israel has initiated since the beginning of this aggression. So it is not targeting one place, but launching large masses of fire that cause destruction to the whole residential square. As you can see, most of the destruction shows that Israel is using powerful and highly explosive weapons that cause serious damage to all these residential homes, with the intention of causing immense damage to the place.
This is our house. They bombed our neighbor's house and our house fell next door. We want to take our things out of the house, but we cannot. It is a very difficult situation.
Is Israel intentionally targeting these locations?
Yes, wherever you go, they hit. When you attack, you don't distinguish between civilians or resistant fighters. We are defenseless citizens. We are people sitting in our homes and bombed.
Destroying entire residential neighborhoods, which house such a large number of children, represents a war crime, and Israel takes the lives of many children through its violent bombardments, which cause great destruction in Khan Yunis, in the southern Gaza Strip. Ahmed Ghanem, Gaza, Al Mayadeen for teleSUR.
Let's take a very short break, but remember you can now join us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, where you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. The General Assembly of the United Nations has its 24th plenary meeting addressing the needs of ending the economic, commercial, and financial blockade imposed by the United States against Cuba. The vote against the U.S. bloc has witnessed in the last 3 decades the international community rejection of the economic, commercial, and financial side in force for more than 60 years and strengthened to unprecedented levels in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic. According to information released by the Cuban Foreign Ministry, the draft resolution to be submitted to the Assembly for the 31st time calls for the lifting of the unilateral coercive measures against the Caribbean nation, whose economic damage estimated at current prices amount to trillions US dollars. Maria del Carmen Esquef, permanent representative of Argentina to the United Nations, reiterated that her nation expressed its full support for Cuba and expressed its adherence to the principle of legal equality of all states with respect to their sovereignty.
Despite the restrictions imposed by the blockade and by these measures that we've just been talking about, Cuba has managed to maintain its protagonism and leadership in various areas of international cooperation and solidarity. Argentina expresses its full support to Cuba and our support for the principle of legal equality of all states with regard to their sovereignty. And Argentina holds that there must be full respect for all these differences, which must prevail whether these differences be economic, political, or of another nature. The blockade against Cuba must cease. It is the most long-standing system of unilateral sanctions against any country. Since 1992, the General Assembly has pronounced itself on an annual basis by an overwhelming majority in favor of respect for international law.
I thank the distinguished representative.
Alicia Buenrostro, Mexico's ambassador to the United Nations, refers to her nation's immediate demand for Cuba's exclusion from a list of countries sponsoring terrorism and demand the lifting of all unjustified measures.
In the same vein, Mexico, my country, deems the inclusion of Cuba on the list of state sponsors of terrorism by the United States State Department to have caused incalculable negative consequences for the Cuban economic and social development. Restrictions upon exports, the elimination of specific commercial benefits, encumbrances to humanitarian assistance, and obstacles in obtaining loans from international financial institutions are all unjustifiable and unjust measures which must be suspended.
I thank the distinguished representative of Mexico.
The representative of St. Lucia to the United Nations expressed her gratitude for the selfless and supportive assistance of Cuba to the country's medical systems during the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic.
In this context of regional cooperation, St. Lucia reiterates its deep appreciation for the support provided by Cuba to our National Health Service from the onset of the coronavirus pandemic. We also acknowledge Cuba's provision of medical personnel and medicines to support our health systems in many nations, including which were hardest hit by the virus. It should be emphasized that Cuba's assistance to and cooperation with St. Lucia in health and other sectors like education predates the coronavirus pandemic by many decades.
The representative of China to the United Nations emphasized on the economic and social damage caused by the United States blockade on the nation.
The over 6-decade-long U.S. embargo has caused a cumulative loss of nearly $160 billion to Cuba, affecting areas that touches upon people's livelihoods such as fuel, food, daily necessities, medicines, resulting in serious humanitarian disasters. From March 2022 to February 2023 alone, the embargo has caused losses of $4.867 billion, equivalent to 3 years of food rations for the entire Cuban people. These facts and figures are alarming, and the international community must not turn a blind eye on this and should condemn them with one voice.
I thank the distinguished representative of China.
Shifting topics, in Chile, the Pan American Games Santiago 2023 continue. We also is Eduardo Regonesi from Santiago for the latest detail. Hello, Eduardo.
Hello, good afternoon. How are you? We are here on a very rainy afternoon in Santiago, Chile, but still a lot of fans coming to the National Stadium to witness what is going to be a very exciting evening of athletic action. One of the main attractions of the Pan American Games, the athletic competition. Later on in a couple of minutes, we're going to have the women's 100-meter hurdle final, followed by the men's 110-meter hurdle final, and also the women's and the men's 400-meter race. All that is happening in a couple of hours, and several other events as well. In men's basketball this morning, Argentina defeated Panama 85-77, and Venezuela had a very close game against the Dominican Republic, winning 92-90. Puerto Rico, it's going to play Mexico, and Brazil is going to play Chile. Tomorrow will be the last day of group action in basketball. On male field hockey happening in a couple hours, Argentina will play the United States. Canada will play Chile, also looking for a spot in semifinals. In volleyball, also in semifinals, Brazil and Colombia made it to semifinals, and they're waiting for the rival. The rival is going to come between Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic, and Chile and Argentina, who play each other later on. So all these teams waiting for the semifinals. A lot of the sports are coming to an end in the next couple of days. Let's talk a little bit about what we talked earlier today in another edition about the big controversy in Chilean football. Chile is going to play Mexico on the female side this Friday on the final of the gold medal match, and they might play without a goalkeeper. We mentioned earlier that Tiane Endler, the captain, she has to go back to France because this is not a FIFA date. During FIFA dates, the clubs, they have to lend the players to their countries. Since this is not FIFA date, the clubs don't have to lend the players. It's up to their goodwill. But right now, Olympique from Lyon, they already called Tiane Endler back, and also the substitute goalkeeper for Chile was also called back for her club in Spain. So Chile might have to play a final against a goalkeeper against the Mexican team who already beat them on the group stage, and now without a goalkeeper makes that task even harder and very embarrassing for the national federation. It's a big controversy in Chile. Very likely someone is going to lose their job because it shows poor planification, poor planning, and a big mistake that you cannot be made at this type of events. Of course, we're going to follow this story, and we're going to follow all the results that, as I told you, are happening in just a couple of minutes in the athletic competition. From a rainy Santiago, we say bye to you. Back to the studio.
Thank you very much, Eduardo, for the information. And now let's take our second short break. But coming up, we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, where you'll be able to watch on interviews, top stories, special broadcasts, and more. Hit the subscribe button and active the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. One final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. The world's first Mayor Summit on Artificial Intelligence Safety opened in the UK on Wednesday, with political and tech leaders meeting to discuss possible responses to the society-changing technology. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, US Vice President Kamala Harris, European Union Chief Ursula von der Leyen, and UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres were all set to attend to the two-day conference, which focused on growing fears about implementations of the so-called for artificial intelligence. The release of the latest models have offered a glimpse into the potential of the artificial intelligence, but have also prompted concern around issues regarding from the losses of the job attack and the control that humans actually have over the system. The government of Pakistan has postponed until Thursday the deportation of undocumented migrants who remains in countries after the midnight today. The Interior Minister said that if migrants will be sent to detention centers from November the 2nd, and that the operation will only target foreigners living illegally in Pakistan.
My 5 children were born here. I had my ID, but my children didn't. So we are leaving because we are afraid. I have a small bread making business, but my store has been closed for 4 days. My family has advised me to leave this place, even though we don't want to leave.
In Uruguay, more than 2,500 people were displaced in several regions of the country due to heavy floods affecting the nation. The National Emergency System detailed in a bulletin that 216 people were evacuated and some 2,285 are self-evacuated. The department most affected by the floods are Artigas, Maizandú, and Santo, located in the north and northwest of the country. On Wednesday, authorities in Argentina indicated that the Iguazu Falls remain closed to visitors due to the flooding of its water levels. Tourist access has been restricted since October 28th after authorities registered an increase of up to 16 times its normal water level. According to the administrator of the Iguazu National Park in Argentina, the volume of water falling from the waterfalls increased from 1,500 cubic meters per second to more than 16,000 cubic meters per second. And we have come to the end of this news brief, but before saying goodbye, we want to thank our Caribbean audience, especially the audience of Trinidad and Tobago. We are Please to share our newscasts and contribute to provide an alternative news sources on the latest world events, tell you life stories of the people of the South, and break the hegemonic media dominance. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net, and also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, on X, and on Instagram as well. For telesur English and from the South, I'm Ana Marrero. Thank you for watching.